"We'll leave the house to you, Alice." That's what they said. That's how they looked me in the eyes while I wiped Dad's forehead during another episode, while I rubbed Mom's back with cream because she couldn't reach it anymore. And a year later, I found the documents. And my name wasn't on them. I remember that evening down to the smallest details. The kettle wheezed because the lid didn't close properly. The kitchen tiles had cracked from age. And I, with my laptop on my lap, just wanted to find an online service to pay the utility bills. But I found a folder. Plain, gray, labeled, house. I knew Mom sometimes used my laptop when hers froze. There was a PDF. The title deed. My address. Our home. Owner, Mark Green. My brother. It felt like someone poured cold water over me. My hands started to shake. My heart thudded in my throat. I refreshed the page a few times, as if that could change anything. But it was real. Mark. The one living in Seattle, who shows up for Christmas with wine and speeches. The one who never changed a light bulb, never laid tile, never stayed up late scrubbing the old stove. I pulled out my phone and called Mom. "Hello? Mom. What is this? Why is it in Mark's name?" A few seconds of silence. Then a sigh. "Alice, sweetheart. This isn't up for discussion. It's for the best." "For whom?" I felt tears rise in my throat. "I live here. I take care of everything. I cared for you. You told me the house would be mine. Mark's a man, Alice. It's family property. He'll carry it on." I didn't need to hear more. Something inside me snapped. Like a blown-out socket. I had lived my whole life playing by their rules. Not anymore. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the kitchen, scrolling through memories instead of social media. Every crack in the walls of that house had a story. I remembered plastering the bedroom myself after the roof leaked. I remembered hauling water from the well when the pipes burst. Mark didn't come then. He was busy with work. And Mom would say, "Don't bother him, he's already exhausted." I remembered planting a tree in the yard with Dad when I was 10. Back when he still smiled for real. Back when I still believed love was unconditional. Now? It was conditional. Conditional on being a man. Conditional on being Mark. In the morning, I didn't say good morning. I simply gathered every utility bill, every receipt from the renovation, old photos of me working on the house, anything that could prove I wasn't just a tenant. I was the builder of that home. Then I called a lawyer. "Ms. Haley," I said, my voice steady even though my hands were shaking. "I need your help. My parents signed over my house to my brother. Without telling me." "Did you live there officially?" she asked. "I'm their daughter. I cared for them for 4 years. Paid all the bills. Did full renovations. And they promised." I trailed off. "I understand," she said. "It'll be difficult. But not impossible." That evening, Mom called. Her voice was sickly sweet. "Alice, sweetheart, I know you're upset. But this isn't a reason to ruin our relationship. We're family." "Mom," I said evenly. "Why did you lie to me?" Silence. Then a quiet sigh. "We just wanted to do what's right. It's a man's house. A man should inherit it. And what about me?" I didn't even recognize my own voice. "Am I just a maid to you? Don't be dramatic. We love you too. But life is what it is, Alice." I hung up. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't cry. Because something in me had already shifted. The next morning, I woke up to a loud knock on the door. Mark was standing there. In a suit, holding a cup of coffee like he just happened to drop by between meetings. "We need to talk," he said, walking in without waiting for an invitation. "You have no right to be here," I said, fists clenched. It's my house too, remember? My shoulders stiffened. I remember perfectly how you didn't show up when Mom had a stroke. I remember how I cleaned her floor and fed her with a spoon. You were on a yacht in Miami, weren't you? Mark rolled his eyes. Don't start. I'm just doing what's right. You know you won't win this. You have no documents, no witnesses. All you have is bitterness. I stepped closer, locking eyes with him. What I have is the truth. And patience. And if you think I'll just disappear, you don't know me at all. He went quiet for a second. You've always been too emotional, Alice. That's going to ruin you. And you've always been too sure you can get away with anything. I opened the door. Get out of my house. That evening, Mom called again. Why are you treating Mark this way? Her voice was no longer sweet, it was ice. Why are you letting him steal my life? He's your brother, she shouted. And you're acting like a stranger. You know what, Mom? I don't recognize myself anymore either. And maybe that's a good thing. I hit end call. And for the first time, it was quiet inside me. On the third day, I officially filed a request to challenge the deed transfer. My lawyer didn't sugarcoat it. It would be hard, but we had a chance. And I made a decision, either I fight for my life, or I stop recognizing the person in the mirror. While the first steps of the case were in motion, I gathered everything. Photos before and after the renovation. Security footage of me taking out the trash, cleaning windows, signing utility bills. Statements from neighbors. Even a text from my mom thanking me for making the house feel brand new. I was building my case the same way I had built that kitchen, from scratch, with blistered hands, and no room for error. Meanwhile, Mom started texting again. At first, small talk, how's your health? I saw they released that show you like. Then, guilt trips, we're so worried, this is breaking our hearts, what about family values? But the worst part wasn't that. The worst part was when she wrote. You have no idea how hard this is for Mark. He's suffering too. He didn't ask for the house. This was our choice. That's when I understood, they didn't even realize what they'd done. To them, I wasn't a person. I was a function. A built-in caretaker with a side of guilt. And Mark, he was the heir. Not because of merit, but because of gender. That night, I sent them one final message. Don't send me sympathy. Don't send me guilt. You're hurting not because you lost me, but because you lost control. And you're not getting it back. I hit send, and for the first time, felt something like peace. They didn't reply to my message. But the next morning, Aunt Laura called. Alice, she began with that fake sweetness, I know you're going through something right now, but why did you destroy everything? I stayed silent. She went on. Mark is a good boy. He doesn't deserve all this ugliness. And your parents, they gave you everything. And now you do this to them? I inhaled slowly. Aunt Laura, were you here when I changed Mom's diapers because she couldn't walk? Were you here when I got up 3 times every night because Dad couldn't breathe? That's life, dear, she sighed. But you're their daughter. It's your duty. There it was. That word. Duty. The key to all the chains they'd locked on me since childhood. That same day, I found out my parents had filed a countersuit. They claimed I was temporarily residing in the home with permission. That none of my expenses had been requested or authorized. And that a daughter has no claim to property she never legally owned. I sat in the kitchen holding the papers, completely hollow inside. And then I did something they never expected. I started speaking out. I made a post on Facebook. Open. Honest. No names, just truth. About how so many daughters care for aging parents, invest years of their lives, and end up with nothing. About injustice. About quiet exploitation. The post got 11,000 likes in 3 days. And dozens of comments from people who had lived the same thing. I wasn't alone anymore. And they could no longer make me stay silent. 2 days after my post, my boss called me into his office. "Everything okay, Alice?" He spoke slowly, carefully weighing his words. I saw the comments. Comments? Under your post. Someone shared your story. And there are people saying, not very nice things. That you're making it up. That you're trying to profit off your parents. That you kicked your mom out. It hit me like a punch. Kicked her out? That's not true, I whispered. I believe you, he said. But you should know, someone is working against you. That evening, I saw it for myself. Mark's post. Public. Some people twist the truth for attention. But I'm a son. I know our parents gave us everything. My sister is now waging war against them. Against family. And I pray she realizes her mistake before it's too late. Over 300 comments. Familiar faces from childhood. Old teachers. Extended relatives. She used to be such a sweet girl. So sad to see her fall this far. Disgrace of the year. I sat on the floor by my bed, unsure whether to cry or laugh. They made me the villain. And this time, publicly. That night, I got up and made coffee, even though it was 2 a.m. I stared out the window and wondered why it still hurt, even though I knew exactly what they were capable of. Maybe because deep down, I still had hope. Hope that they'd come around. That someone would say, we were wrong. But now I knew for sure. They weren't sorry for what they did. They were sorry I didn't stay silent. The next morning, I woke up a different person. For the first time in weeks, I didn't check messages in fear. I didn't scroll through comments. I didn't care who believed Mark's version. I made coffee, put on my blazer, and went to see my lawyer. Ms. Haley and I sat down in the conference room. She laid the papers in front of me. We're filing an official petition to reevaluate the deed. You didn't just live in the house, you invested in it. We can prove financial contributions, long-term residence, caretaking, and human treatment. I smiled bitterly. Can we sue for the lack of that? But more importantly, she continued, we're going public. I raised an eyebrow. The press? Local news. A segment on inheritance disputes. We've got a story. You've got guts. And I think you're ready. And I was ready. Mark never thought I'd step into the light. He thought I'd always be the quiet sister, the one who endures, but never breaks. But this time, I broke the mold. The news segment aired clips, my paint-stained hands, old photos of me with a vacuum or painting walls. They even included interviews with neighbors. She did everything herself. We never saw that guy, what's his name? Mark? He only came around Easter. And I realized, I wasn't asking anymore. I was declaring. After the segment, a woman from another state messaged me. I don't know you, but your story is my story. Thank you for speaking up. You gave me strength. And I thought. They tried to make me an example, and they did. Just not the one they expected. I knew there'd be backlash after the news segment. But I didn't expect it to come so fast, or hit so hard. The next morning, there was a car parked outside my house. Inside, my mother. She sat like a statue, straight-backed, hands folded, face blank. I stepped onto the porch. Mom. Can we talk? Her voice was soft, but icy. We sat in the kitchen. She didn't touch her tea. You humiliated us, she finally said. I told the truth. To the press. Publicly. Are you ashamed of what you did, or that people found out? She sighed. And in her eyes, I saw something new. Fear. People are calling. asking questions. The family, they don't understand what's happening. Nothing's happening, I said. I just stopped being silent. A few days later, a letter arrived. Official. My parents had removed me from the house registry. They can't legally do that, Ms. Haley said, flipping through the paperwork. But they're trying to erase your history here. It was almost funny. And painful. They hadn't just stolen the house. They'd stolen my place in it. Then came the next blow. A call from the home care agency I had used a year ago when Mom was very ill. Ms. Alice? We received a complaint requesting verification that you actually paid for your mother's care. There's an accusation of possible fraud. Excuse me? Someone filed a report. Anonymous. But it states, the daughter exploited her mother's illness to gain tax benefits. I froze. They weren't just lying. They were trying to destroy my name. That night, I didn't sleep. Not out of fear. But because I had finally made a decision, I was finishing this. No more guilt. No more shame. No more, but it's family. The next morning, I got up and filed a counter lawsuit. The courtroom smelled like cheap plastic and old air conditioning. But to me, it smelled like justice, the kind I'd waited for my whole life. Mark sat across from me, polished and smug in his navy blazer like he was at a college seminar. Mom was beside him. Wearing pearls. She didn't say a word to me. Her eyes were empty. Her hands folded. The mask of a martyr. I didn't look at them. I looked at the judge. And at Ms. Haley, holding my file like a shield. We submitted everything. Receipts. Footage. Emails. Audio clips of conversations. Even texts from my mother, "You're our rock. Without you, we'd be lost." We laid out the payment record, for years of bills, utilities, repairs, caregiving. We showed before and after photos of the home. We even brought in Mrs. Robinson, our elderly neighbor. Alice did it all. Her brother? I saw him twice in 5 years. Once for Easter. Once when he dropped off wine and left in an hour. The judge listened carefully. Took notes. Nodded. Then I spoke. I didn't cry. I didn't raise my voice. I just told the truth. I don't want war. I don't want revenge. I want recognition. Because I'm not staff. I'm a daughter. A person. I gave these people everything. And in return, I got silence, humiliation, and a house I built handed to my brother. I paused. But you know what? I'm grateful. Because without this betrayal, I might have stayed silent. But now? Now I speak. As we walked out of the courtroom, Ms. Haley touched my shoulder. You already won, she said. Even if the ruling is technical, you won where it matters. And I knew she was right. The final court ruling came 3 weeks later. I was sitting on my porch with a cup of coffee when my phone lit up. Ms. Haley. It's done. We won. It wasn't just a legal victory. It was acknowledgement. Clear. Official. The house is mine. I didn't throw a party. Didn't post about it. Didn't make any triumphant announcements. I just walked into the kitchen. The same one I'd scrubbed at night while Mom slept. Sat on that old wooden chair, and cried. Not from pain. From release. Mark didn't message me. Neither did Mom. But I knew they saw the ruling. And they knew they hadn't just lost the house. They'd lost me. For the first time in my life, I owed them nothing. A month later, I painted the front door. From dark brown, to warm yellow. Dad would have called it tacky. Mom, immature. But I liked it. The house felt brighter. And I could breathe again. The neighbors started coming by more often. Mrs. Robinson brought me pie and said, "You gave a voice to all of us who stayed silent for years. You're brave." And I replied, "I just got tired of being convenient." And smiled. It was my home now. Not because of documents. Not because someone let me have it. But because I decided I belonged in it.